One of the unique elements of Hinduism is that it's a polytheistic religion, which is a religion that promotes or believes in multiple deities. And inside Hinduism, there's a wide variety of gods to choose from. However, to say that Hinduism is a polytheistic religion isn't exactly 100% accurate. You see, many Hindus do view the religion as a monotheistic religion, meaning that there is one supreme being, one supreme god, and this being has no fixed form or shape. This being is beyond time and space and beyond other human limitations. And all the other gods and goddesses are just different sides or different angles of this one supreme being. This supreme being is seen as the god of all.
Okay, this question actually worries or confuses a lot of Hindu youngsters. And forget about Hindus, it confuses the non-Hindus even more. Because they think this weird religion has got so many gods. And if I ask all of you, look, Shiva, do you think is ultimate almighty? You say yes. Vishnu, yes. Ultimate almighty, yes. Ultimate, yes. And Mother Goddess, of course, Mother Goddess. How can we forget them? She's ultimate too. Now you see, straightway contradiction. Come on, you can't have too many ultimates. This is not ultimate enough.
Now, similar to the Christian religion, Hinduism also has a trinity of sorts where there's one god in three persons. And these persons, if you will, are Brahma, who is the creator of all reality, Vishnu, the preserver of all the creations, and Shiva, the destroyer. So more accurately, Hindus worship one supreme being by different names. This is because the people in India, through their various different cultures and languages, view God in a different way. And their understanding of God is very distinct to their group or language. Throughout history, four main Hindu branches formed: Shaivism, Shaktism, Vaishnavism, and Smartism. In Shaivism, God is Shiva. In Shaktism, the god is Shakti. For the Vaishnavites, Vishnu is seen as the supreme god. And inside of the Smarta tradition, they see all the deities as a reflection of the one god. So the choice of the deity is left up to the individual. Now, this is one of the factors why Hindus are so tolerant of other religious beliefs, because they believe that there are many different paths that one can take that lead them back to the one god. Whether or not you follow a Hindu branch or some other religion, or just even follow a way of life that may not necessarily use the term God, you can still find God whatever path you choose. Now, I did mention that Hinduism is viewed as a polytheistic religion, although that is not entirely accurate, and it can also be viewed as a monotheistic religion, which sheds a little bit more light on the concepts and beliefs of Hinduism. However, there is a third view. One unique concept and teaching inside Hinduism is that God is not far away from humanity, living in a heaven that is way out there that people can't find, but rather that God is actually inside each and every living being, and it's up to us to discover this. And knowing God in this way is the goal of Hinduism. This view of God existing in all things, as well as giving life to all things, is called panentheism. This may be a new word for some of you, but it is distinct from pantheism. And just to clarify, the view of pantheism states that God and the natural universe are one in the same, nothing more. However, the panentheism view of Hinduism is quite different. The panentheistic belief is that God is both in the world as well as transcends the world. And this is considered to be the highest Hindu view of God. Hindus also believe in various different gods that perform different functions. And one of the examples that I can use to sort of illustrate this is, like, take a corporation, for example. We have the owner, and that would be like the supreme god. And then we have other gods, which are like the CEO, the CFO, and other corporate executives. Maybe that's not the most accurate example, but hopefully that sort of gives you a picture. And these other divinities are highly advanced beings, similar to spirits and angels in other religions. But if there is one supreme God, why is the word God used for other beings that aren't God but are called God? Sometimes even human beings are seen and related to as being gods.
They call Sachin Tendulkar as the cricketing god because somebody became an extraordinary achievement, almost superhuman kind of achievement. Now we say he's a deva, he's a cricketing god because nobody ever played cricket like him.
A little confusing, right? Well, a lot of the confusion simply comes from the use of the English word God.
Today we are using it. Otherwise, there never was a word called God in any of the Indian languages.
And depending on whether or not you use a capital G or a lowercase g, that can change the whole context of what kind of God you're referring to. But in Hindu tradition, they don't always use the word God. Each tradition or branch of Hinduism worship the supreme God as well as their own group of divine beings, which perhaps would create a distinction in your mind to differentiate the supreme being from the other gods/divine beings, which are all reflections of the supreme God. And a lot of the confusion, especially to those who are not Hindu, comes from the fact that Hindus from different branches may call the one God by many different names according to their own traditions. Hinduism allows for the freedom to approach God in your own way and does not say you must conform to one path specifically.
It says the same ultimate reality that you are trying to relate to, you can call it by different names and give it different forms. Names and forms can be different, but the same reality, ultimate reality. So not many gods, but many ways to think about God.
And the final thing I want to touch on is the gender of God inside Hinduism. Is God male? Is God female? Is God both?
The only way we can build a relationship with this principle called Brahman is to think of this principle as a personality. Suppose I said, build relationship with Brahman. You say, what do I do now? I said, no, think of Mother Goddess, sweet, with flowing hair. Not just Father in heaven, Mommy in heaven. Why not Mommy? Because we are human, we like to relate to this principle in a human manner. That's why we create all this imagery.
Well, commonly in Hinduism, like many other religions, God is represented as a male figure. And in the Hindu view, God's energy, called Shakti, is represented as his wife. For example, the Hindu trinity consists of Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. And they have their feminine counterparts like Saraswati, the wife of Brahma, Lakshmi, who is the wife of Vishnu, and Parvati, the wife of Shiva. So God and God's energy are inseparable, and the metaphor of wife is really just used to symbolize this. So these wife gods, if you will, are metaphorical representatives. They're not actually different gods. So you can kind of start understanding now how these god figures are actually representative of the different aspects of God. Hindu philosophy also teaches that God is neither male nor female. Hindus know that God doesn't marry anyone, and gender and marriage are just for us humans. So none of that going on up there, in here, or whatever. The realm of God, none of that going on there.
And the word Brahma means spirit, not as a person at all, but as a principle that underpins reality. They said the whole of this creation is nothing but an expression of this principle. Look, not a person, principle that becomes visible, manifested as the world that we see in front of us. Brahman becomes more visible, becomes clearer as living things, and the most clearest vision of this Brahman, this principle, is humanity, men and women.
So yes, that's why Hindus have so many gods and at the same time don't have so many gods. It's completely impossible to put like a blanket view on the religion of Hinduism. Like even many people don't even like calling it a religion, they call it a way of life. So no one view or perspective or terminology can really sum up Hinduism. It's really all about human exploration and human discovery. So rather than being the source of confusion or the grounds for endless religious disputes and debates, perhaps if you look closely enough, you'll see that within the many varying views of God, or whatever language you use to refer to this higher power or universal energy, we are a lot more similar than we may think. For those who follow the collective teachings of Sanatana Dharma, aka Hinduism, they will all acknowledge multiple deities, and this is all based on their various different traditions. And these gods or deities come in all forms of shapes and sizes with various powers. So I'll be exploring 10 surprising gods in the Hindu religion. Starting at number 10, we have the god Indra. Now, Indra was the most important god in the Vedic religion, and later he became a major figure in Hinduism and also in Buddhism. Now, Indra is often seen wielding thunderbolts and looks really fierce, but he's generally very kind, giving peace and prosperity, as well as he delivers rainstorms, all to benefit planet Earth so crops can grow and we have fresh water constantly coming down. He can also be called upon in times of war to give support. The god at number 9 is the god Hanuman. So Hanuman is the Hindu monkey god, and he's one of the most celebrated and most worshipped figures in the Indian religion, and probably one of the most commonly recognized one as well. Now, there's many stories that are told about Hanuman's childhood. It's said that as the son of Shiva and of a monkey, Hanuman is often described as very spirited, restless, energetic, and also very inquisitive. However, as an adult, the monkey god Hanuman, he really starts to come into his own. Harihara is the god that comes up next. Now, Harihara in Hinduism is a deity combining two major gods. There's Vishnu, also known as Hari, and Shiva, also known as Hara. There we have the name Harihara. Harihara is also called Shambhu Vishnu as well as Shankara Naranya, using variants of the names of the two gods. Now, Harihara first appeared in the classical period. In images of Harihara, the right half is depicted as Shiva and the left half is depicted as Vishnu. The hands of Shiva hold the Trishula or the trident, a drum, and a small deer, and sometimes he's depicted wearing a tiger skin. Coming up next at number 7, we have the Hindu god Kartikeya. Lord Kartikeya is also called by several other names like Subramanya, Skanda, Murugan, as well as many others. Now, he's deemed as the son of Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati. Kartikeya is also the younger brother of Lord Ganesha. Kartikeya is a Hindu god of war, and he's predominantly worshipped in South India as well as Sri Lanka. You can also find people worshiping him in Singapore and also in the country of Malaysia. Now, moving on to number 6, we have the god Krishna. You see, Krishna is one of the most widely revered as well as one of the most popular of all of these deities. Krishna is worshipped as the 8th incarnation or avatar of the Hindu god Vishnu and is also a supreme god in his own right. Krishna became the focus of numerous groups which have, over the centuries, produced a whole lot of religious poetry, as well as music and painting. And he's a god of compassion and love in Hinduism. And oftentimes you'll see him depicted with a flute. And Krishna is also the central character in the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Now, halfway in, we come to the Hindu god Rama. Rama, or Ramachandra, is the 7th avatar of the Hindu god Vishnu, and he's most notably known for the slaying of the demon king Ravana. Now, Lord Rama is considered by many Hindus to be based on an actual historical figure, and he's probably one of the most virtuous heroes in Hindu mythology, and he, along with his wife Sita, are an example of true devotion in marriage. He's considered the perfect embodiment of humankind, not only mentally, but also spiritually and physically as well. Now, Hindu followers celebrate him during the festival Diwali, which is known as the Festival of Lights. You mentioned Ganesha, but Ganesha gets his own spot on this list at number 4. Now, Ganesha, also spelled Ganesh and also sometimes called Ganapati, is the Hindu god with the elephant head who is traditionally worshipped before any sort of major project or business endeavor. His name both means Lord of the People as well as Lord of the Ganas. Now, Ganesha is the chief of the Ganas, which is the goblin host of Lord Shiva. Now, his vehicle is the Indian bandicoot, which symbolizes Ganesh's ability to overcome anything to get what he wants. And this is why he's honored so much in the religion of Hinduism. Vishnu is up next at number 3. So Vishnu is one of the most popular Hindu gods, and more people actually follow him than any other of the Hindu gods. Now, these followers are called Vaishnavas, and they worship Vishnu as well as his incarnations. Vishnu is part of the Hindu trinity, which includes Brahma, the creator, Shiva, the destroyer, as well as Vishnu, who is the preserver. Now, Vishnu is associated with most of the good in the world and acts as a balance to Shiva, acting as a destroyer. He acts as a preserver, both creating order as well as keeping the order that's created. Brahma is the Hindu creator god, and he's also known as the grandfather and as a later equivalent of Prajapati, who is the ancient first god. Now, Brahma, due to his elevated status, is not seen in as much artwork as well as myths where gods take on human forms and characters, but is rather generally portrayed as an abstract or metaphysical ideal of a great god. Now, in later Hindu epics, Brahma is no longer worshipped and his Hindu myths are assigned to other gods, yet he always maintains his status as the creator god. Finally, at number 1, we have the Hindu god Shiva. Now, Shiva is the destroyer and also one of the most powerful Hindu gods and is part of the Hindu trinity. Now, Lord Shiva is perhaps the most complex of the Hindu deities. Shiva represents death and dissolution, destroying worlds so that they may be recreated by Brahma. But he is also considered to be a master of dance and of regeneration. Images of Shiva also show his hair piled on top of his head with a crescent in it and a serpent around his neck. And this serpent around his neck represents the Kundalini, or the spiritual energy within all life. Now, he holds a trident in his left hand, and when he's not represented in his blue-skinned human form, Shiva is usually depicted as a phallic symbol called the Shiva Lingam, and this symbol represents the energies necessary for life in the world, but not just in the world, but for life in the entire universe as well. We're exploring the top 10 most powerful Hindu deities. Kicking off this episode at number 10, we have Indra. So Indra was the most important god in the Vedic religion and later became a major figure in Hinduism and in Buddhism. Indra is often seen wielding thunderbolts and looks pretty fierce, but he's generally kind, giving peace and prosperity, as well as delivering rainstorms to benefit the earth. He can also be called upon in times of war to give support. Next up at number 9, we have Hanuman. So Hanuman is the Hindu monkey god, and he's one of the most celebrated and worshipped figures in Indian religion. Now, there's many stories that are told of Hanuman's childhood as the son of Shiva and a monkey. Hanuman is often described as being very spirited, restless, energetic, and pretty mischievous. However, as an adult, that's when the monkey god Hanuman really comes into his own. At number 8 now, we have Harihara. So Harihara in Hinduism is the deity combining the two major gods Vishnu and Shiva, where Hari represents Vishnu and Hara represents Shiva. And Harihara is also called Shambhu Vishnu as well as Shankara Narayana, using the variants of the names of the two Hindu gods. Harihara first appeared in the classical period. Now, when you take a look at images depicting Harihara, you'll notice that on the right half it depicts as Shiva, and on the left is depicted as Vishnu. Alright, so number 7, we have Kartikeya. Now, Lord Kartikeya is also called by several other names like Subramanya, as well as Murugan and many other names. Well, this god is deemed as the son of Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati. Kartikeya is the younger brother of Lord Ganesha. Now, Kartikeya is the Hindu god of war and is predominantly worshipped in South India, Sri Lanka, as well as Malaysia and Singapore. The next Hindu god we're taking a look at number 6 is Lord Krishna, one of the most widely revered as well as most popular of all the Indian gods, is worshipped as the 8th incarnation or avatar of the Hindu god Vishnu, and is also worshipped as a supreme god in his own right. Krishna became the focus of numerous groups which have over the centuries produced a lot of religious poetry as well as music and paintings, you name it. Now, he's a god of compassion and love in Hinduism, so a lot of people can relate to that. Next up, we have Rama at number 5, halfway in. Rama, or Ramachandra, is the 7th avatar of the Hindu god Vishnu, and he's most notably known for slaying the demon king Ravana. Lord Rama is considered by many Hindus to be based on a historical figure and is perhaps probably the most virtuous hero from Hindu mythology, and he, along with his wife Sita, are an example of true love and devotion inside of a marriage. Ganesha is in the next spot at number 4. So Ganesha, also sometimes is spelled Ganesh without the A at the end, and even sometimes called Ganapati, is the Hindu god with the elephant head. You've seen this before, and he's traditionally worshipped before any major project or business endeavor. 3 gods left, and Vishnu Vishnu snatches the number 3 spot, and more people follow him than any other of the gods. Now, these followers are called Vishnavas, and they worship Vishnu specifically as well as all his other incarnations. Now, one thing to note is that Vishnu is part of the Hindu trinity, which includes Brahma, the creator, Shiva, the destroyer, and Vishnu is known as the preserver. Vishnu is associated with most of the good that happens in the world, as well as acts as a balance to Shiva acting as the destroyer. He acts as a preserver, both creating order and keeping the order. The second most powerful Hindu god is Brahma. Now, Brahma is the Hindu creator god. Brahma, due to his elevated status, is not seen as much in artwork and myths where gods take on human form and characteristics, but is rather generally portrayed as an abstract or metaphysical idea of what they think a god would look like if it didn't take on a human looking form. In later Hindu epics, Brahma is no longer worshipped at all, and his myths are assigned to other gods, yet he always maintains his status as the creator god. Now, who is the most powerful Hindu god? You probably guessed it right now, it's Lord Shiva. Shiva, as I mentioned, is the destroyer. Lord Shiva is perhaps also the most complex of the Hindu deities. Now, when you see Shiva in temples, you can usually find him represented as a phallic symbol of the linga, which represents the energies that are necessary for life, not just in this world, but also life on a whole in the entire universe. Images of Shiva also shows his hair piled on top of his head with a crescent in it and a serpent around his neck, which represents Kundalini, or the spiritual energy within life. He's also famously portrayed holding a trident in his left hand. We're going to be taking a look at the top 10 most powerful Hindu goddesses. Starting at number 10, we have Radha. Now, Radha in Hinduism became a loved one of the god Krishna during the period of time when he lived among the Gopas, or cowherds of Vrindavan. Radha was the wife of another Gopa, but was the most loved of Krishna's partners. In Vaishnavism, the female Radha is sometimes interpreted as symbolizing the human soul, and the male Krishna symbolizes God. Next up at number 9, we have Kamadhenu. So Kamadhenu is also called Sarabi and is the mother of all cows according to ancient Hindu scriptures. She is the cow of plenty who grants wishes and desires, fulfilling all that the human heart could even imagine. Cows are considered holy in India. Many of you know this. Why? Well, because they are the earthly embodiment of Kamadhenu. At number 8, we have Tulsi. So Tulsi, or Tulasi, known as holy basil, is also known as Vrinda, and it's a sacred plant in Hinduism. Hindus consider it as an earthly manifestation of the goddess Tulsi, or Vrinda, and many Hindus have Tulsi plants growing in front of their house or near their house, and this plant has many health benefits as well. Tulsi is especially sacred in the worship of Vishnu, and any disrespect towards Tulsi may result in you feeling the wrath of Vishnu come upon you. So at number 7, we have the Hindu goddess Ganga. In Hinduism, the river Ganges is considered sacred and is personified as the goddess Ganga. She is worshipped by Hindus who believe that bathing in the river causes the cleansing of sins and helps moksha, which is the liberation from the cycle of life and death. Ganga is depicted with 4 arms and sitting on a crocodile or surrounded by crocodiles. The Hindu goddess coming in at number 6 is the goddess Sita. So Sita is the consort of Lord Rama, who's the incarnation of Vishnu and Krishna, and an avatar of Sri Lakshmi, the Hindu goddess of good character, good fortune, prosperity, success, and happiness. She is regarded as the epitome of who a spouse should be and feminine virtues for all women. Sita is described as the daughter of the earth goddess Bhumi, and Sita is known for her dedication, self-sacrifice, courage, as well as her purity. We're halfway through this episode, and the goddess Kali is up next. Kali is the Hindu goddess of death, time and the end of the world, and is often associated with sexuality and violence, but is also considered a very strong mother figure and very symbolic of motherly love. Now, one thing about Kali is that she also embodies Shakti, which is feminine energy, creativity, and fertility, and is an incarnation of Parvati, which is the wife of the great Hindu god Shiva. Now, Kali is most often represented with a necklace of heads, a skirt of arms, with a knife dripping with blood. Saraswati comes in at number 4. She is a Hindu goddess of learning, wisdom, music, and beauty. She's also known most commonly as Bharati, meaning eloquence, Shatarupa, meaning existence, and Vidimata, which means the mother of the Vedas. She's also a big supporter of the arts and science and the wife of Brahma. Saraswati is also worshipped as the goddess of learning in Jainism and by some Buddhist groups as well. Only 3 more goddesses to go. And at number 3 we have Lakshmi. Lakshmi is a goddess that symbolizes good luck, and the word Lakshmi comes from the Sanskrit word Laksya, meaning aim or goal, and in the Hindu faith she is the goddess of wealth as well as prosperity, not just material but also spiritual as well. For most Hindus, Lakshmi is the household goddess and a favorite for women. Lakshmi is said to be the daughter of the goddess Durga and the wife of Vishnu. Parvati is at number 2. So Parvati is the daughter of the king of the Parvatas, Himavan, and the consort of Lord Shiva. She's also called Shakti, the mother of the universe. Each of her aspects are expressed as a different name, giving her over 100 names. When depicted with Lord Shiva, she generally appears with 2 arms, but when depicted alone, she's sometimes seen with 4 arms. Now, in her hand, you can see her holding things like a trident, a mirror, a rosary, a bell, a dish, goad, sugarcane stalk, or flowers. Now, the number 1 most powerful Hindu goddess is the Hindu goddess Durga. In Hinduism, the goddess Durga, also known as Shakti or Devi, is the protective mother of the universe. Being the depiction of the goddess of the universe, there's a whole lot of power that comes with that. And she's the protector of all that is good and harmonious in the world. She's depicted as multi-limbed and often sitting on a lion or tiger. Durga really battles the forces of evil in the world, making her the most powerful Hindu goddess.